Welcome to Waiver Watch, episode 28 on May 24th, 2020. We are 107 Waivers, and each week we bring to you some of the most interesting waivers granted by the FAA in the weeks prior. And you may have noticed I swapped out my high back chair to a low back non-swivel chair because last episode I was spinning quite a bit. So we've calmed down a little bit, taking a breath. Here we are back to our regular programming.
We still have some exciting things to talk about this week, though.
We do. We have some very exciting things to talk about. Yeah. The holy grail of all waivers coming up. So, quick rundown on our agenda. We will have our weekly waiver totals, a COVID-19 drone delivery specific waiver, and high altitude swarming drones in Oklahoma, not in Denver this time. That
did cross my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So FAA definitely knows about this swarm.
Yeah.
And it's not Elon Musk Starlink either. So Jakey, hit us with the weekly waiver totals.
All right. So we had 20 waivers approved. So pretty boring week, but they saved themselves with these two amazing waivers that we're going to talk about. So there's 18 night waivers, one high altitude, and one holy grail, as Brent said. It's for BVLOS 10731, 33, and Ops Over Human Beings 10739. Any comments on the map quick, Brent, before we move on? It's kind of all over the place this week.
I do not, because Jakey, I cannot see the map because I have to preview it in safe mode.
Well, I'm looking at it.
Why don't you give us the spiel on the map? Because I can't see it.
Yeah. So there's 2 in Oregon, 2 in Illinois, but really they're just pretty spread out this week. East Coast, West Coast, all over the place. So I would say no significant trends or anything on the map, but good to just look at that for a minute. So,
well, let's jump into it then, huh?
Yeah. The Holy Grail waiver first.
The Holy Grail waiver. So we have Novant Health. Is the company that this is underneath, and a guy named Rob don't even want to try that last name.
Zaratny. Rob Zaratny, that's how I'd say it.
Zaratny.
Hopefully we didn't butcher that. But
So Rob Z, I'm just going to go with that.
Rob Z.
He has been working on a very interesting waiver, which is BVLOS Drone Delivery. And we've mentioned this in the past that this BVLOS Drone Delivery is a non-waiverable thing under Part 107. He even calls it out. But there is a loophole.
How the heck did this guy pull it off, huh?
I think there was a team of people helping him behind the scenes. It is in North Carolina, which is kind of like the epicenter for drone delivery. You've got Flytrex there, you got Zipline, Matternet, and probably some other people that we don't really know about. But, North Carolina is first in flight, and they obviously are first in making major movements in drone delivery. So probably a good state to be in if you want to be in the drone delivery scene. But Jakey, why don't you hit us off with a little bit of some details behind this waiver?
All right.
Describe that loophole. How does this actually work?
Yeah. Okay. So this is really interesting. So we've said time and time again, no BVLOS drone delivery. So 107-205, that's the regulation that tells you what you can waive. It specifically prohibits waiving 107-31 for the carriage of property of another by aircraft for compensation or hire.
So stop you right there.
There's some keywords in there. Yeah.
Those last few words, compensation or for hire, right?
And of another.
There you go. So that's really keen, right? So why don't you fill us in on how, if you read that specifically and interpret it for exactly what it says, how can you use this loophole? And it's not even a loophole. You can do this.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's pretty we'll just get into it. Hard to describe. So the first keyword there, of another. You can't carry property of another and get a waiver to 107-39. So what about carrying your own property? So when we look through this waiver, there's a note right on the first page, the waivers to Novant Health, and then there's a note saying this waiver is for Novant Health to move Novant equipment between Novant facilities. And so that's one of the keys here is they're not delivering somebody else's package. Like if you buy toilet paper from Amazon, that's yours. And if Amazon delivers it, it's not theirs. But if you are Amazon and you just want to move your own toilet paper between warehouses because you ran out in one place, you can move your own property. And in theory, you could get a waiver just like Novant. So that's one of them. Brent, you want to kind of hit the other one on the whole compensation part, or you want me to keep ripping it?
Just basically comes down to compensation, right? So you cannot be this logistics company. Novant Health would be now a company that is moving something. They're not really getting paid by someone else, right? It's going through their own pockets, their own channels. It's just a interbusiness expense. So I don't even know if interbusiness, is that a word?
Intra-business.
Inter-business. Yeah. So basically, let's just say you have a mail carrier inside in your office, right? And they move mail from the first floor to the third floor. They're getting paid a salary by the company, and that's totally legit. So that's just picture this. Instead of the mail carrier moving a package from the first floor to the third floor, it just happens to be coming by a drone from somewhere a little bit farther away.
Yep. Yeah. There's no transaction where the person paid the guy to bring the letter up. It's part of their business, like Brent said. So we have a couple scenarios on our blog post that just help maybe explain this a little more. And I kind of hit on the one where, if Amazon delivering John's toilet paper doesn't quite work, but Amazon just moving toilet paper from one warehouse to another kind of works.
I'm sorry, I just started laughing because delivering John's toilet paper, like in the John?
Well, okay, yeah. So you're right. I used a funny
or Pete's toilet paper.
Pete's, yeah. Julie's, whatever. Anybody's toilet paper. But
yeah.
So, and I wanted to hit too. So like this actually is very similar to how like a private pilot. If you're a manned pilot, this is similar to how private pilot works. So as a private pilot, you can do something very similar. You can kind of fly in furtherance of your business. So we had like another example here where, it's John again. So I just like that name. But John's a private pilot. He works for a company and he has to travel to headquarters one day. He could drive, but he decides, I'm going to fly. He has to get there some way, right? So, and then somebody stops him and says, hey, take this like box of tax documents or whatever. I could mail them, but just take them with you and give them to the boss. And so he takes them with him. Now he's transporting property as a private pilot, but it's just all inner business there, right? So there's no compensation. He didn't go like seek it out. He didn't say, hey, I'm a delivery guy, give me, it's just it's inner business work. So that is the loophole. Not really a loophole like Brent said, but that's how they're pulling this off.
So this will be, it's interesting. This will be nice to see where this develops. I'm sure we'll be seeing some news about this. And it's weird that COVID-19 had to hit before drone delivery really started getting its feet underneath them. Like it seems like why is it now that drone delivery is such a thing in the past 2 months when really the capabilities of all these companies are pretty much, at least according to the operations that we know about publicly, they pretty much were already ready to do this. And, from reading this waiver, we can't really, there's some VOs in there, but it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of detect and avoid equipment out there. So we didn't touch on VOs, like how are they actually
provisions quick?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna hit them word for word, but let's talk about the VOs specifically. So you can have, the VO has to see out to 2 nautical or 2 statute miles to like deconflict the airspace. The VO does not have to see the drone. They just have to deconflict the airspace prior to, didn't it say prior to the aircraft entering this area? I think it said it in there.
I don't think so. I'm not sure. We'll go with it.
So either way, there I do actually believe it's in there. I don't have the waiver up right now, but so you're going to spread out these VOs across your flight length or flight path, and you're going to have this overlapping 2-mile radius between your sight lines so that you have uninterrupted like view of the entire sky. So it is true BVLOS though, because the pilot doesn't have to see it and the VO doesn't have to see the aircraft. So they just have to deconflict the airspace in general.
Yeah, it's kind of that daisy chain concept that we've talked about many times in the past. So
yeah, and
it's awesome.
If we go back, like you can look at Florida Power and Light's waiver for drone in a box, and they have the same provision for the 2 statute miles. So
I think Dominion does too. There was a Dominion one like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So this is like a thing. So if you guys haven't like started to look at how to use VOs, start looking at the waivers that call out 2 statute miles. And of course, if you need help finding out which waivers those are, why don't you hit us a message? We are very well in the know of which waivers contain this verbiage. So hit us up on our website. We have a contact there. But anyways, do you have anything else to add before we kind of just transition to the next?
Yeah,
waiver?
maybe the only other thing I would add is when you do beyond visual line of sight that far, it's almost always impossible not to like cross a road or a person, just something 10739 related, right? So they did get that waived as well. They have to operate 120 feet at least above non-participants. So there's kind of a standoff distance. That's pretty typical. And they have to operate over, it's almost like contradictory, over sparsely populated areas only. But I think the intent there is just that they're not like flying over crowds of people with this.
Right.
Yeah, they're doing their best to stay over sparsely populated areas. But if they happen to fly over somebody or a car, they have to be 120 feet above them. So I thought that was interesting too. They got kind of the combination there.
So it's like transient operations, right? Like they're not allowed to like hang out over, groups of people. Like it's just, they're trying to decrease the risk, right? The FAA is definitely saying, okay, we're going to give you X, Y, and Z, but we still need to curb our risk. So this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that you probably can allude that whatever company is behind this, they definitely are probably within some sort of type certification process, because in order to do obstacle removing vehicles, this is a really big deal. It's even difficult to get with parachutes. So there has to be some sort of robustness in their aircraft design. So don't think like this is like some, build it at home kind of thing. This is definitely probably have like massive flight hours behind it, some data that says this aircraft is safe. Because the FAA is just not going to go and approve just any old aircraft design to go ahead and fly this underneath these conditions in this provision. So stay tuned. I mean, we're going to learn more as things come out, and we'll kind of share those with you. But let's transition to the next one.
Let's do it. So,
all right,
Robert Huck is back on the board. We're seeing a lot of this guy's name lately, which is awesome. Kind of IPP related again. Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, they're IPP. So 2 weeks ago we covered a 10735 waiver that he got. You can go back and kind of watch that episode. Pretty standard 10735 waiver, actually, up to 20 aircraft. Got to use VOs, have to use geofences, clear the area, all those things. But now this week, he's back on the board with a 10751 Bravo waiver, high altitude. And the reason we bring them both up is because they can be combined. So it gets really interesting. So this waiver, this high altitude, allows him to fly up to 2,500 feet AGL, which that's really high. Yeah,
like typically, right? They're like 1,200 and below.
Yeah,
is the typical high altitude.
Yeah,
so this is massive. This is very, very high.
This is way up there. And go ahead.
What about this? So we've been pursuing these waivers before, and 2,500 feet, right? You have that. How do you ensure that you can see it for 3 miles, right?
Yeah.
This is.
I know, that's
right,
and obviously they were thinking about that because one of the provisions like reiterates 10731, like make sure you can see location, orientation, altitude, direction, hazards, all these things. So I'm sure Flight Standards and ATO, actually, because ATO is the one that signs this one. I'm sure they were very cautious, like, are you sure you can see this thing that high, and tell all these things. And obviously they must have they must be able to because they convinced them to sign this. So yeah, these guys are flying swarms of UAS up to 2,500 feet. That's really cool, whatever it is. I'm certainly curious, but it doesn't say what type of aircraft or anything like that. So
right.
So pretty cool. One last note, quick. The numbers were very close, 2064 and 2067. So why would they come out 2 weeks apart, you might be asking, if they basically submitted them at the same time? Well, it's two different groups. Flight Standards signs the 11735. ATO signs the 11751 Bravo. So really you just have you submit them at the same time, but it's two different processes. Mm-hmm. So that's why they were 2 weeks apart, my guess.
Yeah.
So anything else to add on that one, Brent, or should we wrap that one up?
Yeah, I think we can wrap that up. But, this is going to be very interesting when they start operating. And, I just go back to the eastern Colorado drone swarms that were flying at night.
Yeah.
And
he didn't get a night waiver.
so this will happen during the day. But, I mean, if I saw 20 aircraft up at 2,500 feet, right? So now they're going to look like specks.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming they're not going to be massive drones, but I start just thinking about this. So they're gonna throw a NOTAM out. So now there won't be this huge mystery about what the heck is going on in the night sky in eastern Denver or eastern Colorado, western Nebraska. So yeah, just a random thought there. Just picture what this operation actually looks like if they're physically going full scale 20 at 2,500 feet. Wild. So
it is.
Anyways, so yeah, super exciting week. Last week we had the Blue Angels incident. We did a objective review investigation of what may have happened or how, before everyone throws their arms up in the air, these are the things to consider before jumping to conclusions. It's a really good video. We got a lot of positive comments out of it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's our last week's episode. Or you can go on our YouTube channel, subscribe, and you'll see it there. It is one of our hottest videos that we've released. So that is about it for the wrap. Jakey, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay. Well, until next time then, take care.
Fly safe.